What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be making a video kind of doing a little bit of a channel update, as well as talking about the roadmap that Jagex just released and kind of my thoughts on the current state of the game and the direction of the game. So yeah, if you're interested in that, definitely stay tuned, and I'll probably just be like putting some PVM footage or maybe just me skilling in Fort 4 and 3 in the background, but yeah, let's get right into it. So to start off this video, guys, I am going to be making a little channel update here. So, you know, obviously I haven't uploaded anything in the past like couple of days here, like couple of weeks even. And that's just because I haven't even been playing the game at all. I haven't really logged in much in the past 2 weeks, probably about 2 hours or less in total. I mean, you can see here my bonus XP timer is still like 46 hours. So yeah, I just haven't really been playing at all. And I'm not really the type of person to make videos on a game I'm not even playing. That just seems kind of weird to me, and I don't really like doing that. And the reason I haven't really been playing is because there hasn't really been an update that I've been like very interested in about over 2 years at this point. Like Zamrock was the last update I was really interested in. I think Necromancy was decent overall. It has its problems, but I think that was good for the game. But, you know, for me personally, it just wasn't super interesting. It was just a different way to engage with older content I'd already done. So, yeah, it just wasn't super interesting. I definitely like to get, you know, new bosses and new, you know, bossing content. And, you know, aside from Vorkath, which is like one of the worst updates in the game, there hasn't really been anything since Zamrock, really, besides, I guess, Raziel. But that boss is very easy and not extremely engaging. I mean, I have a video on my channel that you can literally AFK the boss, so it's pretty like easy, all things considered. But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with the channel right now and my gameplay. Pretty much just been playing Apex Legends, so if you guys play that, definitely leave it in the comment section because I need some teammates. If you guys have played that game solo, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, anyway, let's get right into the roadmap here. If you guys haven't seen this, it is on screen here. And this is the roadmap that Jagex just released. And I do think there are a lot of really decent updates on here that I'm somewhat interested in. But again, like I said, I'm mainly interested in high-level bossing encounters, and there's only one of those on here. So yeah, I kind of wish there was a little bit more of that type of content, but we'll get right into this here. So you can see here, the new Rex Matriarch Osseous is going to release next Monday. I will definitely be making a video on that and engaging with that piece of content, logging in for it. But, you know, other than that, there hasn't really been much for me to play, I guess. But yeah, so obviously Rex Matriarch Osseous, decent. There's also going to be a new archaeology dig site. I actually really like archaeology as a skill, so this is pretty good. I think personally speaking, Jagex should spend more resources working on dig sites, because I think there are a ton of areas in the game that could use a dig site, and it really does have like almost infinite room for expansion, and they should definitely be working on those types of updates, because again, I think archaeology is just such a good skill, and there's so much room for more archaeology content that I definitely like to see new dig sites. And then you could see at the end of summer, this is probably going to be like late July or something like that before we get this, but there is going to be the new Sanctum of Rebirth dungeon. Actually pretty interested in this update. Again, this is hopefully going to be a pretty decent dungeon overall. I'm hoping it, you know, takes about 10 minutes or so to complete. There are a bunch of difficult trash mobs, but not too many of them, you know what I mean? So I'm hoping it's kind of a mix between Elite Dungeon 1 and Elite Dungeon 2 and Elite Dungeon 3, where, you know, there's not too many trash mobs, but they're somewhat difficult like Elite Dungeon 1. Each boss has its own unique drops like Elite Dungeon 2, and then the bosses are somewhat difficult, like at least the Ambassador and kind of Terracut for Elite Dungeon 3. So hopefully it's something like that, and it's a pretty good overall update to the game. And I will definitely be playing this and making content on it, so yeah, pretty interested for that. You can also see there's a mining and smithing update. The more I think about a mining and smithing update, I do actually see there being quite a bit of room for this to be added to the game. I'm sure you guys know, I'll show my bank here, but there are a ridiculous amount of stone spirits in the game. You can see on this one account, I have like 85 to 100k of, you know, these 4 stone spirits here. And I mean, these items effectively have no use. I mean, you can use them for mining, but who's going to use 100,000 Orichalcite stone spirits? Nobody's doing that. So I definitely think there's a lot of room to add a mining and smithing update to start using these. And the best way I think that they could do that would be adding some kind of like armor spike or something like that to the game that gives you almost like an enchanted bolt type effect that you use stone spirits to make those armor spikes. So I'm hoping that's what this update is about, and that we can start using some of these stone spirits from the game, because I think they definitely need a use case. You can also see there is the area tasks for the City of Personally, I think this should have come out with the City of like it should have been completed on release, but I guess it's better to get it late than never, I guess. Same thing with the 4th Conjure. Just seems kind of weird that there's 4 Conjure slots you can summon, and there's only 3 Conjures in the game, so it's definitely going to be a good thing to be getting this, I think. So that should be pretty decent. It looks like late summer is going to be a bunch of pretty decent updates in my opinion. So that should be a pretty okay time for the game. And then you can see after that there is going to be a skilling boss. I like skilling bosses, but I'm really hoping that this skilling boss is duoable. I don't really like Croesus because you need to find 3 other competent people to like fight the boss, and it's just too many people for what that piece of content is, in my opinion. So I'm hoping this is like a duo boss or even soloable, just so, you know, you don't have to go out and find competent players to be doing a skilling boss. I think that'll be a lot better for a lot of Iron Men and a lot of other players out there that are like myself, I guess. But then you can see, I guess there's going to be a new quest and a new Slayer monster. I'm going to talk about the Slayer monster for a second. Personally, I think a single new Slayer monster is too little of an update for Slayer. I think Slayer is one of those skills where it has so much room, like archaeology, for updates. But it seems like every time they make a Slayer update, it's like the bare minimum. And again, like I said, I think Slayer has so much potential, and it's almost always wasted on just the most bare minimum update you can possibly imagine. So yeah, it's nice to see a new Slayer monster, but honestly, I would like to see a new Slayer like dungeon, like a whole new dungeon, maybe even bossing Slayer or like some sort of wave-based type thing, or maybe even consolidating some of the older, outdated content into Slayer to make it overall just a much like better skill. But I guess it is nice to see a new Slayer monster, and the Slayer helmet upgrade is definitely something that's needed, considering Slayer, you know, the Slayer helmet boost doesn't work for Necromancy, so you know, that should definitely add a decent bit of power for Slayer tasks. Although Necromancy is already pretty ridiculous for Slayer tasks, so that's going to be crazy. And then you can see in late autumn there is going to be a group Iron Man mode being added to the game. This is going to be maybe a bit of a hot take, but I think this is a massive mistake spending the developer resources, especially since it seems like they're very limited in those resources on something like Group Iron Man. When we look at old school, Group Iron Man mode to me doesn't really seem like that big of a success for old school. I mean, sure, it's good for content creators, like even someone like myself who does, I guess, create content. I'm just not super interested in Group Iron Man mode. And if you look at what happened with old school, like people made their Group Iron Mans and then like one guy quits and then everybody quits. And pretty much I don't really see any Group Iron Mans really running around, maybe a few here and there, but for the most part, it's just, it seemed like it kind of failed, to be honest. So, you know, I don't really think the resources should have been spent on Group Iron Man mode, at least not yet. I personally would have much rather seen a league or something like that, the framework to be making leagues for RuneScape 3. I think that would have been much more successful than Group Iron Man mode. I mean, if you look at old school, their player counts spike extremely high with leagues. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that would have been a bit more engaging, but I definitely want to know what you guys think about that in the comment section. Do you guys like Group Iron Man? Are you interested in it, or are you not interested in it? Definitely put that in the comment section below, because I want to get other people's opinions on that and see kind of what the community thinks about Group Iron Man and not just my own personal, I guess, biases. But yeah, that's kind of what I think about Group Iron Man mode. And then you can see there is a skilling update for woodcutting and fletching. I think this will be good overall. I mean, we obviously need to be getting the tier 90 hatchet yet, way to combine the Encamdo and Crystal one like the other skills. So I think woodcutting definitely has a pretty good room for that update specifically. But as far as fletching is concerned, I don't really see why they're working on fletching. I mean, fletching, in my opinion, is it's like one of the best skills in the game right now as far as the content it has. I mean, you can make god arrows, you can make bolts, and it has like overall a pretty decent amount of content and training methods that I don't really think we need one more. I think other skills need updates. So if I hide this here for a second and we look at the skilling list here, I think there are other skills that need a lot of work done to them more so than fletching. Like personally, rune crafting, this needs to be updated. Like this skill is so outdated, and given the fact that you have to fund 2 different combat styles with runes now, I think rune crafting definitely needs some updates, at least more than fletching. Same thing with construction. Construction is just such a weird skill in the game right now. Like even the Fort 4 and 3 method that just got added, it makes no sense. You're like building a building on top of one that already exists. You know, the other methods, you're like tearing down your player-owned house stuff to rebuild that. And if you look at the construction contracts, they were outdated. Well, not outdated, but they were pretty poorly done on release. I mean, there's like not that many houses you rebuild, and I think it has so much room to add like a bigger contract that requires like a lot more resources, gives you a lot more XP, rewards, that type of stuff. And I definitely think construction and runecrafting are in need of an update. Obviously, the player-owned house, everybody wants the player-owned house to be updated, it seems like, and seems like a difficult task, but I think that would go kind of a long way with the community sentiment with the game. I also personally think cooking needs an update. This skill is so outdated. I mean, it's really slow and boring to train. And as far as like the food is concerned, there's like 1 or 2 pieces of food that are actually useful to gameplay, right? Like sailfish and blue blubbers are the only food that you use. And I think cooking as a whole skill should probably be reworked to be making more interesting dishes for players to eat that don't just make you lose 10% adrenaline and make the like food useless. But that's just kind of my thoughts on the like current state of skilling, I guess. But yeah, I think the woodcutting update is good. Fletching update, I don't know if it's needed, but I guess it'll pair nicely with woodcutting, so that's probably why they did it. But yeah, that's pretty much everything on this roadmap here. I think there are some good updates on here, but I think there are, I think we need more updates overall. So yeah, now I guess I'm going to be talking about kind of my thoughts on the current state of the game here. So obviously the roadmap just came out, but it came out in May. And in my opinion, that is just way too long of a wait to be getting this roadmap, considering I think most people that I've seen talking about it really wanted to see it somewhere around January or February at the latest. And also given the fact that there hasn't really been any updates to the game in 2024 so far, besides like a 30-minute quest, and I guess the new ritual board, which is pretty much the same thing as the old one, there really just isn't that much to do, to be honest. And, you know, having to wait 5 months to be getting a roadmap is just too long, in my opinion. And I think that was a big mistake that Jagex made. And not only that, but this happens like every single year. They basically don't do anything for like 4 to 5 months, and then they sprinkle content into the game for the rest of the year and then repeat it year after year. And to me, I'm just kind of sick of Jagex doing that. Like that definitely leaves a bad taste in my mouth pretty much every year. And I think it's really getting to the players where they're just starting to get fed up with this sort of practice. And it's just really annoying, to be honest. Like I said, I'm not playing the game right now because there's no new content really to play. And I'm kind of at the point where if my membership lapsed right now, I probably wouldn't resubscribe, you know, and the account you see on screen here is my alt. The only reason I have this account subscribed is to make content with. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with the game, and I feel like I can't be the only one, and given the player counts are tanking, definitely seems to be the case. And I just think that's such a big mistake that Jagex is making. Like, I don't see why it has to be the same thing year after year. It's just so annoying. But yeah, not only that, I think Jagex has made a ton of mistakes when it comes to the way that the game is being updated, aside from just the amount of content. But when I look at what happened with Necromancy, I mean, I think Necromancy overall was a decent update. I think it was really good for a lot of players to get into PVM and make it less like you don't have to use full manual, you know what I mean? Like I think that was really good for the game, but then there wasn't really any PVMing updates added to use Necromancy on, besides Vorkath, which is like the worst bossing content in the game. Ask anybody, they all hate it. I haven't really seen anybody that likes Necromancy, or I mean Vorkath, and yeah, I just think it's really strange that Jagex would add a whole new combat style to the game, but then not add any content really for the players to use that combat style on. Like, you know, hindsight's 2020, I guess, but that just seems like a massive mistake in my opinion. Like, it definitely should not have been done that way, and I think adding Necromancy and a ton of new content, you know, really, really close to the Necromancy release date would have been so good for the game, but they missed that opportunity, and it cost them a lot of players, I think. So going in after that, I mean, for me personally, the last update I was really interested in was Zamorak, and that was about 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. And by the time we get another update that I'm very interested in, which is going to be that new Elite Dungeon, that's going to be 3 years after Zamorak's release date. And like I said, the lack of PVMing content has definitely made the game pretty stale for me and a lot of other players, and a 3-year wait period in between updates that at least I'm interested in definitely gets pretty boring, you know? So hopefully they can step it up in 2025, but I think if they do the same thing in 2025, it's going to be more of the same with lowering player accounts and stuff like that. The other thing I want to talk about is the mistake that Jagex made with the combat beta. You know, I think a big reason why players stopped playing after Necromancy released, I mean, if you look at the player charts, Necromancy releases, gains a bunch of players, and they all leave within 2 months. Like, the player counts go back to pre-Necromancy numbers and then continue to drop. And I think a big part of that was that Jagex left the other combat styles in an effectively useless state for about 6 months. So anybody who didn't like Necromancy pretty much quit the game. I know personally, when I look at my friends list, all of the high-level PVMers that I used to see online haven't logged in months at this point, like pretty much all of them. And I think a big part of that was that 6-month period between Necromancy releasing and the other combat styles being updated. And I just think that 6-month wait was way too long given what the beta actually put into the game. I mean, you know, obviously I liked the beta and it, you know, was good for the game, but the 6-month wait definitely wasn't. And when you look at what the beta actually adds to the game, it pretty much added the hit cap increase, which was a predetermined change, the accuracy and critical strike changes, which were both predetermined changes, and then a few things that were very, like, unimportant. And that took 6 months to release. And like, I think if Jagex took 1 to 2 months to put at least the important parts of the combat beta into the game, it would have been so much better for the players and player engagement that I just can't look at that as anything but a massive mistake from Jagex that has hurt the game quite a bit. And I think it made a lot of players pretty unhappy. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys agree with that? Because that's kind of what I see happening and what I see other people saying, you know, and when you look at the betas, they did the same thing with the Fractured Staff beta. It seems like the beta is being used more as a way to get players to QA the game for the developers rather than taking feedback, because they basically didn't take any feedback from the Fractured Staff beta, and a lot of the feedback they took from the combat beta seemed to be like bug fixes and stuff like that, as well as, you know, pretty much the Lang special attacks. And yeah, I don't know, that just, to me, it seems like it took so long that it ended up doing more damage than good, really. I mean, I don't know about that, but it definitely seems like it did quite a bit of damage to the game to be doing something like that. So yeah, I just think that's kind of where the game is currently. And I think moving forward from here, like in 2025, I think we need to see a roadmap that comes out much earlier than April or May, because I think players really need to see that their membership fee is going into something, right? Like, this 4 to 6 month period without really any updates is doing a lot of damage to the game. And again, year after year of that leaves players in a pretty, I don't know, a pretty negative state, I think. So hopefully moving forward, maybe Jagex would see this video. I doubt it though, but hopefully like the community can like push Jagex to be, you know, doing better with the game. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with the game right now. If you guys agree or disagree with what I've said, definitely leave it in the comment section below. And thanks for watching, guys. If you made it this far in the video, definitely drop a like on it. It does help promote the channel. And I will be making something on Osseous and at least the Sanctum of Rebirth dungeon. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one.